Courtney approached me, and she said, the real knows Kurt as the lead singer of Nirvana, but he was really this prolific artist, and we have all this art, and would you like to make a film about it? And so that started this multi-year journey trying to collect all the rights. And eventually, about 2012, everything, we were ready to go. And I met with Frances, who by that point had come of age in the 5 years from when I first started. And I met with her, and she sort of reiterated that same desire that the film help present Kurt as an artist, that was really what she was mainly interested in, and that however it came out, that to keep it real and keep it honest. She didn't want to do another sort of retelling of the myth of St. Kurt. That part of this amazing experience for me was that when I went into the materials, I didn't know what the story was. I knew what, to a certain extent, how I would build a story, but I didn't know what the story was, the narrative per se. And that sort of revealed itself through going through all those primary source materials. And ultimately, there was just a tremendous amount of primary source materials, 4,000 pages of journals, and 200 hours of audio, and it was a lot of ephemera. To write the film, I had to go through every piece of material myself, because those materials were my letters and my sentences and my building blocks for the structure of the film. And it was only through going through that material and having that intimacy with the materials that I was able to arrive at the sort of central themes. Talking about losing his virginity for several reasons. I think the first, one of which is nobody had ever heard it, nobody knew of its existence. That was a story that Kurt had wrote out in his journals, and so there was the fact that he had written it and then he recorded it, and he didn't just record it, he performed it. That's not even his speaking voice, it's his performed voice. And I think the first time I heard it, I was sort of stunned by the what he says about suicide, and particularly in light of what happened to him, and nobody had heard this, and it was also Kurt telling a narrative, which that wasn't his sort of forte, narrative storytelling, so it was unusual in so many different ways. After I'd gone through everything, I came back to that tape, and at that point I'd had a chance to evaluate everything else. And then when I returned to it, it wasn't the fact that he talked about suicide that was so revealing or illuminating to me, it was the why. I couldn't handle the ridicule. She said to me as we shook hands, I just met you, but already I know you more than I know my father. And what she meant by that was her father had passed away before she was 2, and she had no memories of her dad. And it became clear that to us, and that clearly resonated as any, it probably would with anyone, but as a father. And then a short time later, I went to the storage facility with her for the first time. She was there once before for 10 minutes with a bunch of lawyers, and she went through, and I think she had the intent of trying to sort of organize the place that day, but it was clear that it was a massive undertaking. And it was abundantly clear at that point, to me at least, that it wasn't for her to go through all this materials. By that I mean it was her right, but emotionally I don't think anyone should have to go through that, or she should take a year and a half out of her life to rummage through his stuff. And so part of it was, in a way, I was curating these materials for Frances, and so when she saw the film for the first time, she embraced me and said, thank you for giving me 2.5 hours with Kurt that I didn't know I was going to have.